So for topic 5, we're going to be taking a look at algebraic patterns and functions. And so when we look at algebraic patterns and functions, or in this case, we're going to talk about them in terms of equations, you're first going to start with dependent and independent variables. Now, this is something that I expect you to be pretty savvy with because we use independent and dependent variables all the time when we do science fair. So if we take a look at there, our essential question says, what does it mean for one quantity to be dependent on another? So we're going to see which value is my dependent variable and which value is my independent variable. So I'm going to come down here first to this. So a dependent variable changes in response to another variable. It's dependent. It's reliant on something else. So a good way to think about this is in terms of you as children, you are dependent upon your parents for your way of life. They give you a roof over your head. They buy you guys food. They buy you guys clothes. They take you places. You are dependent upon your variable, or upon your parents. In this case, are the variables. Your parents are the independent variable. They are what causes you guys to change. So if you want to go to the store and they don't, that's going to have an impact on the dependent variable. Okay. So an independent variable stands alone. A dependent variable is going to change in response to that independent variable. So take a look at this problem. So it says an orchard sells apples by the pound. Each day, P pounds of apples are sold, and the amount of money taken M is recorded. Which variable, P or M, depends on the other variable? So what is going to have an impact on the other variable? Well, the amount of money that's taken in is entirely dependent upon the amount of pounds of apples that are going to be sold. So M, money, is going to be your dependent variable, whereas the pounds of apples sold is your independent variable. I can sell however many pounds of apples and it's not going to have an impact on anything except for the money. So the example that they sell, when the orchard sells 50 pounds of apples for a certain price, it will take in less than what it sells for 65 pounds of apples. The dependent variable M, that's what the change is. They're talking about the cost of money. It's in response to the pounds of apples that are sold. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the convince me. A baker used a certain number of cups of batter, B, to make P medium pancakes. Which variable P is or B is the dependent variable? Explain. So when we take a look at this, which one is going to impact the other? Well, in order to make pancakes, I have to have batter. So B is going to be my independent variable because the amount of batter that I have is going to determine how many pancakes I can make. So P is my dependent variable. Again, the amount of pancakes I make are directly determined by how much batter I have. So batter for pancakes determines number of pancakes. That is why P, or pancakes, is my independent variable. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at your next page. So when we take a look at the next page, it says number 1, guided practice. Jake and Viola keep track of the number of miles M they bike to help measure the number of calories C they burn in an hour. Viola says the number of C calories they burn is the independent variable. Do you agree? Well, we have to look at what's going to impact the other. Is the amount of calories I burn in an hour going to impact how many miles I do? Or is the amount of miles that I ride going to impact how many calories I burn? Okay, so is she correct when she says that calories is the dependent variable? Yes, she is correct because calories are dependent upon, it's not liking that R, calories are dependent on miles. Okay, so Viola is correct in that situation. Number 2, it says in the problem above, identify at least one other independent variable that could affect the dependent variable. Okay, so another factor that I could have that would impact it is not miles, but it's going to be maybe how fast they're going. Because if I'm working at a harder rate, so if I'm going faster, so speed, I'm going faster, is going to impact calories burned. So speed would be another independent variable. Go ahead and move on to number 3. So it says in 3 through 5, identify the independent variable and the dependent variable. So my independent variable is going to, I'm just going to go ahead and write off to the side, independent, and I'm going to write my dependent over there. So when you're identifying the independent and dependent variable, actually write out the words. It's not going to take you too much time to spell out independent and then dependent. So number 3, what I'm going to have is I'm going to first identify my independent variable, the amount of money M earned if T raffle tickets are sold. So I look at, and actually I'm going to change that. I'm going to go to my dependent because sometimes it's easier to determine what's going to change based on something else. So if I sell T tickets, the amount of money that I earn is going to change. So M is my dependent variable, which means that my tickets sold is my independent variable. Okay, let's take a look at number 4, the number of hours H worked and the amount of money M earned. So again, looking at this, what is changing? The amount of money that I earn is entirely dependent upon the hours that I work. So H is my independent variable. Number 5 is going to be the number of shelves S in a bookcase and the number of books B the bookcase can hold. So the bookcase can only hold a certain number of books depending on how many shelves I have. The more shelves I have in a bookcase, the more books I can hold. So S is my independent variable, B is my dependent variable. Okay, so on your independent practice, you are going to identify the independent variable and the dependent variable. I want to see the word independent and I want to see the word dependent. I don't want to see I or D. I want to see the actual word spelled out, please. And then on question 10, you're going to write your own situation and then you need to identify the independent and dependent variables. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to do your math practices and problem solving. And then when you finish with those pages, you are going to have a different page that I would like for you to do that will be on the table. Happy identifying independent variables and dependent variables.